Hello, YouTube. We are gathered here on this fine evening to discuss the skill list. What skills does a basic infantryman, does a Minuteman, does a prepared citizen need? And in what order are they important? Alright, this is going to be in a very similar fashion to the gear list video I made. Before we get started, an infantryman, what does he do? Well, when he is fighting, he is shooting, moving, and communicating. When he's not fighting, which is actually the majority of the time, he is patrolling and he is sustaining himself in a survival situation, right? He's sustaining himself in his equipment in a survival situation. So we have shooting, or I'm going to call it fighting. Fits a little better in my list, right? So we have shooting, moving, communicating, sustaining, and surviving. Those are the categories of things we need to be good at. All right, so within fighting, all right, quick pause for a moment. The color schemes that we have going on here, right, are in levels of importance, right? So red is critical to have, orange is you really probably should have it, green would be good to have, and purple is unexpected but would be nice if you could know it, right? So for each of these categories, there's going to be a color list, and then on some of these subcategories, as you can see, right, fighting and then weapons proficiency, I have a lot of things underneath that, and so this is a category, a subcategory, a sub-subcategory, and this sub-subcategory is also color coordinated within the category being color coordinated. All that makes sense? Hopefully so. All right, so shoot, move, communicate, sustain, survive. First category, shoot, or we're going to call it fighting. We have weapons proficiency. An absolute minimum, we need to be able to aim and fire our weapon. We need to be able to reload it so that it has bullets to shoot. We need to be able to clear malfunctions, right? So if it has a malfunction, we have to clear that, and we have to handle all of this safely, not hurt ourselves or our team members. We have to hit what we're aiming at, and we have to keep the gun firing, and we have to do that in a safe manner, okay? Just beyond that would be doing that with a level of speed under some stress, right? Whether that's physical stress, mental stress, time stress, competition stress, right? And we're going to add speed, stressors, and we're going to demand a higher hit percentage. Also having an advanced understanding of optics, right? So knowing what a mil radian is, an MRAD, and an MOA, and understanding what BDCs are and how they work. Having some basic understanding of what exposed versus unexposed turrets are, what a red dot versus a prismatic versus an LPVO or whatever optic is, and how to use all of them, right? Next would be ballistic understanding, right? So understanding what's going on with your bullet, both in the gun while it's flying through the air, and then once it's hit its target. Excuse me, I'm feeling a bit congested today. I'm trying to push through. Okay. Then beyond that, it would be wonderful if you just had general weapons knowledge, right? You've shot pistols, you've shot single action, double action, revolvers, semi-automatic, shotguns, bolt action rifles, lever action rifles, non-AR combat rifles, AKs, FALs, G3s, Ruger Mini 14s, etc., 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 right? Just you've shot a bunch of guns. There's not a gun that you can't pick up and probably figure out how to put bullets into it, work the action, and aim it, right? Back to back. Basically getting to where you can do this with any gun you pick up. Any gun I pick up, I can do this, right? That is the ultimate level of basic weapons proficiency. Also, side note, if you understand optics and MRAD and MOA and BDC, and you understand ballistics, congratulations, you can now shoot at long range. Wonderful. So, all of that was within weapons proficiency, which is a red. Tactics, also red. The very basic of tactics, we have to understand fire and movement, fire and maneuver, and patrolling. I've gone over all of these in previous videos. Fire and movement is just you and at least one other person shooting while as a total unit making progress somewhere forward, backward, side to side. Fire and maneuver is adding an element of tactics involved in that, so it's not just a directional movement. We're actually kind of establishing a base of fire and then maneuvering with another unit on the enemy. And then patrolling is doing a tactical walk around with your friends, right? Past that, having some basic defensive concepts. Not that I think the prepared citizen is about to set up a linear defense anytime soon, but understanding why they do what they do when they do set up a linear defense could help you in a lot of different concepts, different situations, right? So having some understanding there. And then in the green, for tactics, battle drills. If we do have friends, a handful of friends or more that we're working with regularly, we should have some standard operating procedures on some basic battle drill, right? React to a drone, react to contact, hasty ambush, react to ambush, gain a foothold in the city, like gain a foothold in the building, et cetera, gain a foothold in the trench, et cetera, right? Basic battle drills. Cool. So, all of that I've said was two bulletin points: weapons proficiency and tactics. All right, moving out of the red for fight and into the orange, we have hand-to-hand combat. Again, it's got its own little subsection here, right? So initially, you just want to not be completely fucked if you get in a bit of a tough situation, right? So you're going to want to understand stance, you're going to want to understand movement, and some basic punches and kicks. Right? So you can teach somebody this in a couple days, from nothing to this level. Beyond that, you want to have some basic takedowns and some basic takedown defense and understand ground positioning. Not that you're going to be doing umemplatas or rear naked chokes or anything like that fancy, but just understanding how to defend yourself and maintain a not completely fucked position on the ground should you find yourself there. Then we would want to focus on melee combat, right? So hand-to-hand distance, but now we are not playing fair. We're trying to actually get some work done, right? So bayonet tactics, though bayonets don't really apply for 99% of your prepared citizens, the muzzle, the hard steel muzzle of your barrel will be highly effective if you jam that into somebody's face, even though it's not shaped as a knife. And so overall bayonet tactics, bayonet, what is it called? Goodness, techniques, bayonet techniques are good to go, right? Even if you don't actually have a bayonet on your rifle. Then we would want to learn knife and then baton, right? Because a baton is going to apply to everything. Any stick or pipe I can pick up off the ground is now a baton. So if I know some basic bayonet stuff, I know some basic knife stuff, and I know some basic baton stuff, no matter what it is I reach down and grab to use as a weapon in a hand-to-hand situation, I'm going to have some base understanding of how to use that. All right, then if we actually wanted to kind of do this regularly and get good at it, I would suggest you do jiu-jitsu and or kickboxing. Awesome. Cool. So, again, this is fighting, and we have weapons proficiency in the red, tactics in the red, hand to hand in the orange, and now we have observing in the green. So, in no specific order, all equally important. When I'm talking about observing, I'm talking about utilizing optics. So, not only your actual optic on your rifle, possibly, especially if it's magnified, but binoculars, range finders, thermals, night vision, perhaps an actual camera where you're going to take some pictures or record some video, right? Utilizing a wide variety of optics to observe the enemy, and then you're going to take notes about the enemy and understand how to take those notes, what notes to take, and then kind of caveating off that, understanding some reports. Look at what the military does for reports, decide what of those reports would be applicable for you as a prepared citizen, and then tailor them more so to you and your friends, and then utilize those custom-made reports, right? But there's a reason the military has standardized reporting, and so I would, if you're at that level where we're in the green, right, and focusing on green level things, I think they would behoove you to come up with some standardized reporting for you and the homies. All right, definitely not that everybody needs to know about it, but somebody somewhere that you can at least consult with probably should know some things about drones and this word right here, these letters, these 3 letters. All right, so that is fighting or shooting in the shoot, move, and communicate, right? So now we're moving on to move, new category. Fitness, 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 fitness. If you cannot move your body, you will die and likely cause ill will to your brethren. So, get in shape. And it's not about looking good. It's about being able to move your body all over the earth. Can you walk, run, climb, jump, swim, crawl, dig, etc.? Right? Can you put on 50 plus pounds worth of shit, 50 to 100 pounds worth of shit, and go do all this stuff all day long? That's what, if you can't, start working on it. Strong. If you can do this, right? If you can do all of this, then the next thing would be as strong as you can be. Your gear is heavy and the day is long. Someone will have to carry the injured guy out. Okay? Someone's going to have to carry the extra water, the extra ammo. Someone's going to have to carry that medium machine gun you just confiscated off the ambush. Someone's going to have to carry Fred's pack because he's a heat casualty and he can't carry it because he didn't do fitness before the event. Whatever the case is, right? So if you have a base level of fitness going on, then I would suggest you, while maintaining this, get strong, friends. Cool. Also, a critical and necessary component of being able to move yourself about the earth is land navigation. You need to be competent and capable of utilizing a map and compass with protractor and map pins as well with this one, right? So the analog of land navigation, as well as being comfortable and knowing how to use GPS. Cool. All right. Again, we're just talking about moving ourselves across the earth, right? So now we're in the orange, having some basic climbing experience and knowledge, right? Nothing too crazy, but not having ever gone up any sort of a steep grade before in your life would be bad. So do some climbing somewhere. Again, swimming, survival swimming. So we're not trying to Michael Phelps breaststroke as fast as we can. We're trying to do, there's different survival strokes, right? There's a side stroke, the reverse stroke. There's techniques where you can like take your pants off and make them into a life jacket flotation device, or you can do the similar thing with a canvas blouse. If you have a canvas shirt on, button-up shirt, you can do a similar thing. Go look on the YouTubes. Survival swimming. Get good at that. Cool. Then, in the green, now we're starting to use vehicles. So we're no longer just moving our own body, but we're getting in some sort of vehicle and needing to know how to utilize that vehicle, right? So motorbiking, being able to utilize motorbikes, dirt bikes, e-bikes, or even street bikes, right? could be a critical skill. Driving, but not just to the grocery store, right? Urban, aggressive, stunt driving type stuff is good to know, as well as off-road overlanding, being able to take a four-wheel drive vehicle and traverse it through an unbeaten path or a unkept path is critical stuff, right? Somebody in your squad probably needs to know that. Maybe not everybody, maybe not you, but somebody close to you needs to know how to do that shit. Getting into just more exotic modes of transportation, but if you have a homie that can fly or is awesome at boating, especially on the open seas or something like that, or going more primitive, having horseback or access to donkeys or etc., awesome. Could definitely come in super handy. All right. Shoot, move, and communicate. So, the main way you're going to communicate most of the time is hand and arm signals. The next most frequently used way to communicate is going to be low-tech signaling, right? So there's a bunch of options here, but I just threw a couple of my favorites down. The flaming rock, classic flag on a pole, the buzzsaw with a chem light, lots of different breadcrumb methods you can use to mark your trail for people that are following behind you. Like if you are the scouting unit up ahead, you're going to leave breadcrumbs for the main body to follow your trace. And as I said, many, many more. Many, many more. All right. Next is going to be pyro. So smoke grenades, making your own smoke grenades, sourcing smoke grenades, flares, road flares, shotgun flares, boat flares, flare gun flares, stuff like that. Popping a signal of fire or smoke so people far away can see. All right, and then all the way down here in the green, we have radios. All right, if you are starting to mess with radios, you just need to focus on operating your handheld unit and understanding what's going on with that. The next skill I would say would be establishing some sort of a hasty antenna, right? Like a J-pole up in a tree or whatever the case is for you. And then the next skill would be to operate when somebody has already set up the big radio stack in the COC or the TOC or the HQ or whatever you want to call it, headquarters. You being able to sit there and talk on those radios and man them, not set them up yourself, but man that radio for a few hours, right? Man that station. Then in the purple, skipping right over green, we would want to just understand basic radio theory. This is unlikely for everybody, but those of us that find an interest in it, that's awesome. And then at the top, we would want to be an advanced radio operator, right? Able to do HF and encryption and signals gathering and intelligence with like SDR radios and Yagi antennas to direction find people and stuff like that. Cool. So that's the actual fighting, right? So we are shooting or fighting, we are moving, we are communicating about those fights and movements that we're doing. Wonderful. Now, if we're not fighting, in between those fights, we have to sustain ourselves and our equipment, and then we have to survive. Okay, so for sustainment, in the red, we have weapons maintenance. All right, your equipment comes before you. Your equipment comes before you. Before you get to take a shower, you have to clean your gun. Before you get to take a nap, you have to make sure all of your canteens are topped off and your gear is ready to go for the next patrol. Weapons maintenance. Water purification. Understand how to purify water. Multiple methods. All the methods that are realistic for you. Understand how to do them. Carry tools to purify water. Do not die of dehydration. Do not plan to be supported. Foot care. As an infantryman, you are walking around on your Jesus wheels 90% of the time. If the bottom of your feet become bloody because the entire layer of skin has peeled off, it is going to suck, or you are going to be unable to move, depending on your pain tolerance. So take care of your feet so that doesn't happen to you. Food, slightly less important than water, but at some point, especially on multi-day operations, we're going to have to eat. Even on a non-out on patrol standpoint, right? When we come back from patrol, we're going to have to eat some food from somewhere, right? And if H-E-B is not working or Walmart's not working, Food Lion's not working, whatever the case is, right? We're going to have to get food the old-fashioned way, right? Whether that's gardening, animal husbandry, like breeding animals, hunting, trapping, fishing, or foraging. None of them being more important than the other. Not, no special environmental circumstances taken into account. So having a general knowledge of all of them and having a specialty in at least one or two is pretty important, in my opinion. Logistics win wars. All right. Field hygiene. You can't let yourself get all nasty. Fungus growing on your toes, and your teeth falling out of your head, all kinds of nastiness, getting sick, spreading disease, right? So field hygiene and waste management. You have to take the minimum necessary out to the field with you. Not a lot, because you don't have a lot of space, but you have to take some shit with you, and you have to take care of your body. You have to know how you can push, how long you can push your body, how many days you can go without taking any sort of a shower, et cetera, et cetera. And then also we have to take into account waste management. If we're on the move, it's not that big of a deal, right? You don't want to leave a trail of trash or excrement that can be tracked. But beyond that, because we're on the move, we don't have to worry about filth and disease. But if we are back at base camp or in the defense, we're in a patrol base, we're going to have to worry, where are we pissing? Where are we shitting? Where are we putting our trash? What are we doing with our trash? What are we doing with, where do we shave? Where do we shower? Et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. These all need to be separate locations that are also separate from where we're living, and they need to be managed appropriately. Weapons repair. So beyond just simple weapons maintenance of clean your gun, tighten your screws, dummy cord your stuff, etc., etc. We need, things will eventually start to break. If this isn't we're not in the military, so we don't have an armorer. Somebody's got to be that guy. It doesn't have to be everybody, but it's got to be somebody. Somebody's got to know how to mount optics, how to swap parts, how to take a barrel off, how to swap handguards, how to change out buffer tubes, how to change out furniture, et cetera, right? How to zero stuff super well. All of that should be an individual skill, but that's a whole nother, I guess it's not a whole nother thing, right? Aim. All right. That's all for weapons repair. Okay. In the purple, not critical and not directly in the role of the infantryman, but since we're talking about prepared citizen and we're probably fully unsupported, you like that? Fully unsupported. Trade skills are going to be very important, right? Whether that's kind of the traditional stuff, plumbing, carpentry, electrical, etc., or the stuff that's maybe a little less traditional as far as you would say trade skills, but mechanics, welders, fabricators, and then even the new age stuff, right? Guys that understand networks and IT and audio, video, and coding. I'm sure there's plenty of stuff I obviously didn't get in this very short list, but you get the idea. People that can interact with the physical world around them and build things or understand how best to tear things apart are going to be important for maintaining and creating infrastructure for your community and destroying the infrastructure of the enemies that the enemy is using to sustain themselves. Cool. All right. Very quick little last bit here on survive. It's pretty upfront. Medical, right? There's lots of stuff about medicine on the internet, trauma medicine, field medicine, from people that are more qualified than myself. But an absolute minimum, understand how to treat a trauma wound, a gunshot wound, stop the bleed, right? Tourniquets on the arms and the legs, pack the wound on the arms and the legs. A wound to the groin or the abdomen, you're going to want to cover with an occlusive dressing, which is just plastic, right? And then monitor for tension pneumothorax. But I've already said too much on that subject. All right, bushcraft. Being able to make shelters, make traps, track animals and humans, know which path to take and which path not, understand all the little woodsman-y things like that is super critical. Everybody should have a general baseline, right? It shouldn't be your first time out in the forest camping if you were trying to be a grunt. But not everybody has to be an Appalachia Bubba, but it's always great if you got one around. All right, and then last, evasion, especially as a smaller guerrilla force, theoretically in Minecraft. Evasion could be very important. Again, I don't expect everybody to be a Grand Thumb evasion expert, but it is important to put some thought into it. Cool. Boom. That's your infantryman skill tree. Hope you boys found this helpful. See you guys next time.